All right, we'll go ahead and call this May 15th Account and Finance Committee to order, and we'll jump right into the 2020 budget, 1920 budget. And I see we got a lot of constituents in the audience, and we know what that's for. And I guess just to rest everybody's mind easy, I mean, I feel as if the DBI cut is not necessary. I mean, there's plenty of places we can find. We got to just budget $3,000 more in the meals tax.
As we said, in a $50 million
like
budget.
you said last meeting, we always pad a little bit somewhere so that you can. So
I agree.
And so I do believe Zach has made DBI's presence noticed a lot more than his predecessor. So
All good. We got a lot of big fish to fry today.
that's small on my book compared to some of the other recommendations. So if you want to stay around, the other ones are even more interesting.
Good deal.
Yes.
You'll give him a $4 million raise.
He's already poking me trying. All right, Philip, you want to go? Y'all agree with that? I mean,
Oh,
we don't-
yes.
Okay.
We'll figure that.
All right. So then our next, we were supposed to take it home, obviously, and go over our highlights and what you want to see changed in the budget, if anything. So if you look at the second page of what she handed us this evening, it's a duplicate of what she gave us last meeting. You have the highlight, the big one obviously is the 4-cent real estate tax increase, which only raises $60,000 of revenue. And I believe that's 17% increase.
22 cents now. So
Yeah, it's 22 cents now, so 4 cent, 17%.
So everybody knows it's not a
And that strictly,
recommended increase for any other purpose other than storm drainage projects. Okay? It's not for salaries. It's not for raises. We would never ask for a tax increase to give the employees a raise.
is a council discretionary
It's a
budget item.
discretionary item that we've included in the budget that would allow council, because we get a lot of requests for ditches and pipes and curbs and all those kinds of things. And I'm not talking about necessarily the things that are on the town right away, but things that are off the town right away. And this would
Right-of-way
give,
stuff is the town.
it's in the street department budget in primary or secondary already. So we're not asking for any kind of an increase, but this would give the council the ability to have a budgeted figure so they know how much they can and can't do. You're gonna receive a request Monday night from the street committee. I don't know if they're ready to make a recommendation, but they asked me to get a cost estimate. It's $49,000 to, you're on street committee, aren't you?
On private property?
On private property. So those things can get pricey, you know? We did the one over on Bird Road years ago. That was like $52,000.
I'll go ahead and just express because that's what we need to do this evening. Everybody needs to be open, tell us what you think, what you don't think, so that Jennifer Hardy we need to go ahead and push this. We're almost towards the end of May now, so we need to get it before council. But I just don't feel that the tax-paying citizens of Blackstone should be burdened with a 4-cent tax rate increase.
You're paying for it now.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. 4 ditches. Correct that. Well, I mean, you've seen how I voted against ditches, so that's why I stand that way. So, but everybody has their own opinion, and that's fine. So, and again, that's only that's not for raises that are proposed or anything. That's
We don't have
strictly
for tax increases for
cleanup
raises.
line item is what it's.
If we're not doing better, then we don't give out raises. The other matter before, and there's copies of this available for everybody. In January every year, we receive a estimate from Dominion Power of what our bill is gonna be for the upcoming year, with and without fuel adjustment charge. And our bill, if you look at it, has 2 line items, primarily that are associated with the purchase of power. You'll have actual power consumption, kilowatt hour usage, and you'll have FA, which is fuel adjustment. And the fuel adjustment varies every year. In the month of April is when they change it, and it changed this month and it dropped dramatically, okay? So if you look at this chart that was provided to us by VEMA, which is our purchasing cooperative that we're a member of, the Virginia Municipal Electric Association, they are estimating without fuel adjustment, the rates will go up 10.1% in 1 year.
That's pass through. Everybody
Pass-through.
know, that's not the town of Blackstone going up, that's pass through.
And the, with fuel adjustment, because that came down, the net difference to the average ratepayer would be a 5.3% increase. They're available to give them to the committee, we'll give them that Monday night. And, that's where the electric stands. Now, that is a January estimation, and I will tell you, they're obligated, Dominion is, by contract, to give us a final figure no later than the 1st of June, okay? That's why Nottaway County adopts their budget in April.
They don't have to wait on this.
They don't have to wait on certain things, and they've got to get the school's budget, or the portion of the school budget adopted earlier. We're always a middle, late June outfit, in part because we can wait that long, but two, we will always wait for the Dominion final rate structure. And this is an estimate, and the budget is built around a 10% increase in electric rates. Not in the fuel, but it also has a corresponding decrease in the fuel
So
adjustment.
the consumer will see a 5.3%.
According to the
roughly.
January, would see a net increase in the bill of 5.3%.
So be prepared.
Third item in the budget is and we provided to everybody a garbage rate study. One of the things we're trying to do is to not go in the red on garbage collection. We find and feel that is a revenue stream, just like water, sewer, electric. We're in the black in water and sewer, we're in the black in the electric, thanks in part to Ben and his efforts and Sam and the rest of council years ago. Garbage is a revenue, and right now, the street department is supplementing our garbage collections. You know that guy that drives around in the white truck and picks up toilets and mattresses and brush and all the other stuff that people put out? He's being paid actually with VDOT money. And it's our intention that that is a rubbish collection, that is actual garbage, that is going to the landfill, it's the same thing. We would like to put his position into the garbage, and in order to do that, remember, we split up when Dan Martin started working as the Public Works Director. He's in charge, so a portion of his salary is now garbage, a portion of electric, a portion of, not water and sewer, but streets and that sort of thing. And then we are proposing a significant number, I can't say it's a huge amount of money, but trying to get the garbagemen's salaries up. And I think I provided to you last time.
I'm
the
surprised
increase.
when you look at the pickup frequency in the garbage rate study that all other localities only pick up on 1 day a week at residential.
According to this, yeah.
I'm very shocked that there's not more trash in those localities.
Well, there probably is equivalent amount of trash. It's just that other communities have decided it fairly impractical. We spend a lot on collection.
Yeah.
Not only, and you guys live in town, you guys recognize this, a lot of places, you ever go to the beach, it's a one-armed bandit. You know, the guy comes along and picks up your trash and dumps your can, and you gotta have it on the street. We'll pick up trash if necessary. If somebody has a disability, we pick up their trash on their back porch, in the alleyway, in the backyard. So our guys actually, if you ever notice, they go to those carts, because they go through people's backyards and get trash out of the alley or wherever historically people have put it, we've picked it up. And we do twice a week. Twice a week is not an industry norm. Once a week is more of a industry norm. We spoke with Waste Management when I first got here. What are some of the options? The Waste Management quoted a price, but they only wanted to do 1 a week collections. And it didn't pass then, and I don't know if there's any intention from council to change twice a week collection, but it is.
$3 increase brings in how much revenue?
Jennifer, help me.
About 60 grand.
Yes.
That's what it shows on the revenue.
The recap,
Yeah, it probably lasts.
I think it went from 3 and change to 4 and change, so
Yes.
up to $415,000 of collections, is that right?
It increased revenue by 60.
By 60, but the total collection, you're right, but the total collections for the department in revenue?
That we actual,
Hang on, wait a minute. Charges garbage collections. Currently, we have $335,000 budgeted, and this proposal would take it to $395, so it's exactly $60,000, exactly right.
Now, we're doing 5 collections on commercial.
If necessary, not every commercial.
Certain ones.
McDonald's,
Right.
big guys that make a lot of trash,
Y'all.
man, we go
That
every
was
day.
what I was curious if we were actually.
So we get it because if it needs to be gotten, and especially in these dumpsters, a restaurant or the ones at Bevel's, if multiple restaurants are using them, and So, yeah, some of those are getting it. Some people have a business like maybe Access Realty or the car dealership Emporium. You guys have some cardboard boxes, so maybe you're not as good of an explanation, but maybe Trent, you guys don't make that much trash. So one of the things we want to look at in this coming budget year and come up with a plan is creating a category, because Carolyn Davis pays the same amount for waste collection as McDonald's, and they're getting it 5 times a week. We just have a generic one figure. I would like to propose, and I don't know how to do this at this point, but propose a small commercial and a large commercial rate that is ultimately revenue neutral. We collect the same amount of money, but instead of the big guys paying the same as the little guys, that the little guys pay less than the big guys. Okay, they're using more service and come up with something, but that's not proposed in this budget. But I do think there's a sense of fairness to try to do some of those kinds of things.
Well, I think just for, I mean, what do y'all think about the $3 increase? Obviously, you saw the highest in the area is Cambridge at $16.85. That's only for one pickup though, so you gotta compare that.
And for folks to know, we pay $14 a month or $14 a month for twice a week collection. South Hill is 15, Crew is 15, Farmville is 10. Alta Vista apparently doesn't charge for garbage at all, but they're,
Did they even pick up?
They do, but it's added into the tax based on how they do it.
and Cambridge is 1685. So we would become one of the higher for the residential, but we give you twice a week.
Correct.
We're not proposing to change all that, because that's pretty near and dear. A lot of folks in town like that service, man, and when you touch that thing, you really set off a nerve. So,
And again, whatever we say tonight is not final, because it still has to go to council, so y'all just wanna leave that in there to go to council as $3 increase.
I
in
would
garbage
say yes,
pickup.
that's not bad for twice a week.
And that will include in that figure the brush collection and the rubbish, mattresses and stuff that people put up.
And you've got a 3% across the board salary, which I don't like that terminology, because it's not across the board.
It's not. There are some employees that, and we present those to you, that
And we'll go over that.
have been recommended by department heads for maybe a 2.
So
or
just
1.
say 3% salary increase.
There were some adjustments in certain other departments.
Certain, yeah.
Employees that, like the garbage men, we're trying to get them up. And even then, we still have guys that'll be making $10.30, $10. It's still not a heck of a living, but it is over $1 increase for them. Okay, more than 3%.
Hopefully they look at the benefits and those benefits are worth it, so.
So we'll focus on trying to get them.
So everything that remains on the highlight list is strictly salaries. Since obviously we've taken out the 4,000 reduction in DBI. And the 10,
Taking out tax increase.
well, we're gonna go back to that. And that's the 10% electric rate increase, we all know that, there's nothing we can do about it. We're not gonna hike it up ourselves, it's pass through.
But we will reduce it. If the end result from Dominion
Correct.
is
Yeah, yeah.
6%, we're gonna drop it down.
Whatever passed through to us is what we'll pass through. If it goes up, I mean, it could go up, so.
It could. I hope not, but it could.
Have you ever seen in the past, I don't remember myself, those calculations, are they pretty accurate? Or have we ever seen them go up?
I've never seen one go up. I've seen them go down. Yeah. I've seen them go down, but never, I think this is like a worst case scenario.
Gotcha.
And, hopefully it'll be less. But again, in your light bills this month, if you get bored, look at SA, because this is the first month that we've received, our bill from Dominion this month reflects the lower fuel adjustment. You'll see it in your
Next.
June bill, June 1st bill, okay? Because that's the first month of full consumption under what Dominion is charging.
So what's the policy on the rates, the way you think of the rates? Because somebody had told me that the more electricity you use, the higher your rate is. Is that true?
If you're a demand customer, and demand means commercial customer, the way we are charged and the way you are charged is on a demand rate. If you're in a house, you pay X number of pennies per kilowatt hour. If you're on a demand meter, you're paying that plus the cost is determined by the time of the day that you're using your power. if you're turning it on and your consumption is high in the mornings, in the wintertime specifically, and in the summertime in the afternoon, your demand meter will reflect that, and they calculate it, we calculate it as a higher rate, okay? Now, there was some discussion at one point about inverted rates. You know, if you're a bigger customer, do you use more or less? And I think that the term inverted had been thrown out there a couple times, but it's really not the case. There's really the kilowatt hours on the commercial side. If you look at the tiers, they're
It's very
nominally
small.
different.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
there's just a very slight difference in them. So the biggest thing that gets us and gets you guys in return is demand consumption. Okay? If you look at our bill, there's a line item in there for demand consumption. Right? In fact,
Explain that, because in peak time.
generation
Really hot,
demand,
really
using power at peak, for this particular month of April, they charged us because of the time of usage and the demand, the town got an additional $88,000 charged on its bill. So if you look at our total bill for the month, their estimate, and it came in today, and it was really $192,000 was our VEMA bill, okay? They estimated $199,000, so they weren't too far off. April is usually the lowest consumption month for anybody, for you and for the town. Of that 199, 88,000 of it is because we use power at peak periods. Because we use power at peak periods. That's why whenever we do things like renovate our wastewater plant, we go with variable drive and we go with a soft start motor. Because those motors down at the wastewater plant, when they cut on, they use a lot of juice. So we actually use a soft start, which will tear the
It
starting.
ramps it,
Huh?
it ramps it up.
It'll slowly ramp it up so that we don't see that same, bam, one-time impact. Reese Corporation, places like that, oftentimes they'll use a generator to get that demand charge down. Sawmills are huge users of electricity, same kind of thing. The demand, it's, what is it, 88 out of 200? You know, 40% of the bill to the town and subsequently to the consumer is demand charge. The other
Peak times change throughout the year?
peak times change when people are buying power, but typically
So
your
we
peak.
never
It's
know.
a constant
Right.
rolling thing.
Yeah, if
constantly
it's really
moving.
hot and everybody turns on their air conditioner and maxes it out, that's a peak time.
You're gonna see
That's
peak
when it-
It's
times
a constant rolling thing.
in the wintertime, the peak is 6:30 or 6 o'clock to 8:30.
In the morning.
And I'm giving you a generalization.
Yeah.
And in the summertime, that peak is 5 o'clock. Holy smokes, it's hot in here. And it cranks up until about 7. So there are peaks. But if you look at when the town's big peak is, it's January and February. And you'll see that in your bill. Everybody does. The summer has a piglet that goes through the anaconda, but man, January and February, man, that's a big elephant going through that rascal. Is that a good analogy?
All right.
And these are available to anybody who.
Kuzmiak, I see you're here. You weren't here last budget meeting. So we, the police in-town stipend, how do you feel? We kind of squashed it ourselves, but we want to know how you feel. And maybe if you wanted it, we'd have to look into it, but.
Phil and I have talked several times. I think it was a concern on my part and a lot of the officers that were here, even those that lived in town, didn't support the way it was presented.
Okay. And that's what we had taken, but I wanted you to hear it from you, so.
If I may, a couple of items that we didn't talk about too terribly much in the capital items. One of the things, and you guys are gonna see a grant application come to you Monday night, so I'll prep council people while you're here. The fire department's requesting a $750,000 fire engine. I can't say they need it, don't need it, but they have an old engine, okay? And it is next in line for replacement. Is it still functional? It is, but it's a 1980-something model, and it's 25 years old, 30 years old, okay? Currently, today, as we stand here, you know, the county gives us a check every year for apparatus, for buying trucks, and that just increased from $25,000 a year to $45,000 a year. And we segregate that money every year when we get a check, we segregate it. So far this year, the town has put in, if you remember, 1% of the electric rates. Remember a couple years ago when the rates dropped, and we didn't drop them all the way, and council kept a percent, at least 1% on there? we earmark that strictly for either fire or police. And we have a police car coming, and that is earmarked for this current fiscal year for the police department. The $34,000 upcoming that we just switch between police and fire every year, okay? The fire department has, of their money, and town money, but ultimately for the purpose of buying trucks, about $158,000 right now. So we're a long way from $750,000, okay? What I have put into this budget is a $100,000 straight up town contribution for the coming fiscal year for fire trucks. And that would be matched by their 45. And so my goal is, if we have cash at the end of the year, we would try to get the fiscal year July 1 started. If we have leftover cash, and I've told Dion this, start at $200,000 plus another 145. So we're starting to get close to halfway. And we're gonna make an application, we're gonna ask council to make an application to USDA. USDA will give us a small grant, about $25,000 grant, but they'll also finance the difference. You don't get the grant without the financing, okay? Capital improvement plan originally called for a 2022 purchase, okay? So we're still a couple, 3 years out. But increasing the cost from $600,000 to $750,000 in one year. When
And they say we'll keep increasing about that.
Keep increasing, so,
Which is crazy.
that's gonna stress some of the things that we're trying to accomplish for the next while. If a fire truck is gonna be the thing, we can finance all of it, other than that little grant portion, but I'd rather finance that which we don't have already earmarked. Use their apparatus money, and again, the budget this year has 100 of local, 45 of county money.
So you look at, we got $200,000 of $750.
Right now, yeah, well,
Or we
we got
will.
158, and I
We will.
intend on trying to make it, if possible, if we got the cash at the end of the fiscal year, to make it 200 rounded up, okay?
Long ways.
It's a long way.
Philip, can I ask a question? That's one fire truck is $750,000.
One.
What are we looking at? One of
It's
those?
an engine. We just bought a tanker.
Yeah.
That was the last, since I've been here, we've purchased a command vehicle, we've purchased a brush truck, and we've purchased a tanker. A tanker is a tanker, it's a big
Right.
tank, and
Yeah.
you carry it out, fires and that sort of thing, where water sources aren't necessarily available. In town,
Right.
you don't need a tanker, you use an engine.
Yeah.
Okay? And
Is that a new engine?
Yeah, that's brand
I can do engine. The old one is functioning, it's not about to break down, but it's old.
new. Well, it's the
Fire
cycle,
truck
it's the
engine.
cycle that they're looking at. We've got, the next one in line is a 2002. So that's old now, it's getting old too. So it's just a cycle that you try to keep them on.
And the
Would we
ones
get
that
money
we bought
back
used
from
be-
selling
is
that,
it-
the one that we're gonna replace?
I'm sure
Try to
that,
sell that.
How much are they
I'm
worth?
sure we would sell it, and let's say
How
you
much is
got
that engine worth? You may get-
$50,000 or $25,000.
Really?
Yeah, if that. It's not worth anything to anybody except for a collector.
Wasn't the ladder truck used?
Mhm. Yeah, that's the only one I know that has been purchased used.
So it's an engine. This is actually one that sucks water out of a fire hydrant and then sends it across the street to put a
Does it have
fire
a
hydrant.
ladder on it too?
Pardon?
Does it have a ladder on it too?
It is not a ladder truck.
It's got portable ladders, but I think they've got a ladder truck that's a 1987 or 88. They're also interested in trying to
The
apply.
cost of
$1 million
local
bucks.
government, it's,
Like $1 million for a fire truck. So when we talk about $3,000, it's small for DVI in the big picture of things.
Eric's got a couple of Tonka trucks in the, no, I'm
Yeah.
only kidding, Eric.
I got
Oh. So
several.
have we priced the used one?
They have, and they came back to me and they told me that they had gone to the Fire Chiefs Association conference down in Virginia Beach, and they had gotten 3 prices. Now, one thing that I'm proud of the fire department doing, we've been almost sole sourcing this thing with Pierce. And Pierce is probably the nicest fire truck. We buy them in Amelia too, because they're the best truck, okay? They're the most expensive. But they are actually getting different prices now, so we're not necessarily sole sourcing. We used to use Pierce specifications when we bid them out, and the other fire truck guys would call up and say, "This is a Pierce, isn't it?" "Yeah, it's a Pierce." I can't bid on it. So now we'll actually have a little more competition. The fire department's more interested in KMA? I don't know what to say. Is that right? KMA or KM something? So there are Grumman make fire trucks and there's different folks that do it.
Hale makes a good truck.
So I think they're gonna bid it out and try to find some alternatives. But the prices they've received to this point, with the bells and whistles they requested, about $715,000.
Just figure in 2 years when we're ready to purchase,
Could be 750 or 800.
850 by then.
Wow.
It'll be based on what the
Right,
bids
so
come
that,
back on.
obviously, it's nothing we, I mean, you're including that.
There is $100,000 in the general fund budget of the town,
For a fire truck.
specifically earmarked for fire truck.
Doesn't
We
mean we're gonna
purchased-
purchase it this year, it's
No,
just
no, no, no,
putting
we're
it
just
away.
building the fund. It'll just be sitting in the bank for another couple of years. Okay. We don't have any other major capital purchases for vehicles in the budget. There's no tractor. You know, we've purchased 2 tractors this year, one for the airport, one for the town. We bought a police car this year, or a Explorer replacement. This coming year, really that money is being earmarked for fire truck. Okay. Big capital projects that we are contemplating is about $400,000 coming out of water, sewer, electric, and general fund to build a new town shop. And that new town shop would not be on Church Street anymore. It would be up at Babs. Okay, I think there's been some interest in folks saying, yeah, it looks kind of shaky up there. And admittedly, it's old dump trucks and grass is cut better, and I think we police up the trash better than we did, but we're proposing $400,000 in the budget to try to build a new series of sheds and a town shop. We would then
With that, after the transition is complete, we would surplus that property.
and surplus that property and sell it and put it back on the tax rolls and take what revenue we've got for it and put it towards the construction of the building. Okay. That is in the budget. Is that enough? That's all I can cobble together right now. So each of those departments are putting up, I think, $135,000 or $134,000 each. And those are the big boys for the year.
All right, so everything's pretty cut and dry, except for we need to go back to number 1 on the highlight list. So we can give Jennifer direction to, and again, whatever we decide it's just 3 of us. There's still 4 more that have to weigh in as well, so. And whatever we decide tonight doesn't mean you need to vote that way. That's true. When we come to approve.
But Monday night, you'll get a request from Tabernacle Church, I think.
That's the
Tabernacle on
one
Main
up.
Street, that big ditch right there.
Didn't we,
You voted
you were
not to.
starting to cut bamboo there one day, and I think the mayor,
Council voted to cut it, if you remember.
stopped you.
And then it got, wait a minute, what are we doing? And then we came back next month, and I think Sam had made the motion of all people, and he rescinded his motion to clean out that ditch. But it's a big boy, and I met with Lenora King, pastor. You know what I'm talking about? Okay. We met this week, and I think it's some intention on that. And it's a big old gaping wound. I mean, it's a huge ditch right there, and that's coming to you.
How much is that gonna cost, you think?
No, I can go back and get some figures, but there's an old something.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
old
You drive by there,
concrete
Oh, yeah,
structure or
it's-
I
something.
don't know if
Yeah.
it's sewer, stormwater, maybe
It's a
somebody that's
big-
been around here for a
yeah.
long time, but it's defunct. It doesn't do anything now. It may have been an old pump station, who knows? But that would have to come out and pipe it back in. Now, the good part is if you cut it out, it's not gonna really affect the budget, because we get that money earmarked and segregated.
Yeah, that's something
So
separate, yeah.
it's not like you gotta take it away from something else, because we kept that $60,000 separate and for that specific purpose. Question? Y'all have any questions? Did you get those roses that I found in the cemetery? Okay. Did you?
Yeah.
Oh. I put them back on the head.
That's fine.
So what you saying?
He said just leave it in there, and then that way the full council will see it Monday night, because Monday night is when we will present the proposed budget to the full
So
council.
allow
Yeah.
them to review, and then once we get the FEMA numbers, then we'll have to meet again.
Because within a month, in the next month, we have to adopt a budget so that we can,
Pretty darn close. Now, there's a advertising and public hearing requirement. At a minimum, 2 weeks. At a minimum, we need to, once you decide, all right, go ahead and advertise it, we hit it on a Wednesday, you gotta wait 7 days for the public hearing, and then another 7 for adoption. So you got at least 2 weeks from the last advertising.
gotcha.
So there's a proposed calendar, and this is contingent upon FEMA. What Philip and I are really looking for, so we'll probably call the capital finance meeting once we get the FEMA numbers, so you guys can decide, and then we need to call a special call meeting so that the full council can authorize him to advertise, because we need 7 days before the public hearing.
That's right.
And then another 7 days before we can adopt. So,
26th of June.
Which is standard, the week of, the week typically.
yeah, as long, I mean, we might end up having to do it on the 28th, you know, but we just have to see when those
That's
FEMA
fine.
numbers come in.
So what we'll present to them, minus, we'll go into closed session in a few minutes with some personnel salaries. But, everything that's on this list, we'll keep the real estate tax increase on there and just let the full council, but we will remove DBI's $4,000 reduction. So, but everything else will
We'll
remain,
Bounce up from someone.
yeah, that's, again, that's small compared to,
Small.
all right? Is there anything before we go into,
Well, yes,
oh, yeah, that's right, we got one.
I've got your budget billing summary that you
Enrollment.
asked for.
Yep.
Where who's enrolled and who's applied. The
Yes.
totals you would ask for last month.
So we've got a total of 30 in the budget billing program currently.
Correct, but 129 applied.
Now, there's one little glitch, not a bad glitch, but before you just pull me aside, and we had calculated people that were eligible. Remember, you guys changed it to say if you were in good stead or whatever with the town. Well, she calculated based on are you in good stead with utilities. But the motion, if you look, it actually said taxes as well. So she's gonna have to go back and double check a couple of these to make sure somebody doesn't have some bad or overdue taxes as well. Okay.
All needs to be taken care of, I mean.
All of it, yeah, not just the utilities, and that's what she had done after your last meeting, but she needs to go back and cross-reference, make sure that none of those approved have a tax outstanding due.
What's the first, how many total people are in our billing?
How many customers
Yeah, how
do
many
we have?
customers do we have?
1,700,
17.
yeah.
Small fraction.
And that's all customers, some may be just water and sewer, some may just be electric, some may be a combination thereof, but, we sent out about, I don't know, between 1,600 and 1,700. Huh?
That's commercial.
Yeah, that's
That's
everything.
everybody, yeah. We have that many bills to go out every month.
So at what point, and I'm not saying we take it out and don't do the budget billing, but how do you, obviously, we hired a budget billing person strictly for that.
Actually, we hired that person to handle this, and I thought it was gonna be a much bigger volume.
Correct, that's what we
30
thought.
people, yeah, I thought this was gonna be like half the town was gonna do it.
She's got other duties she can perform, is my question.
Well, what she's doing is she's learning how to do Brenda's job too. Because right now, Brenda Bryant, and God bless her, she's been here for 47 years or 46 years or how long she's worked for the town and done the utility bills. She knows institutionally, well, this one's related to that one and their kids are living over here and she's got this thing down to a science. And for her to be agreeable when we were changing from the cards, those cards have been historical back then, right? And we got these monthly bills and but Brenda's, after 40-plus years, I don't think she's gonna retire. She hasn't announced it. She hasn't said anything about it. But my fear is, we don't have anybody else that knows how to run a utility bill. We need to have a cross-trained person.
That's true.
And that's what Jessica's learning how to do. In the event of Brenda's decision that she's gonna retire or move to Hawaii or whatever, or become a realtor, perhaps. We wanna have somebody else that can do those things that she's doing, run those deals.
But that's gonna offset that.
Oh, yeah.
And so this second page is what I'm gonna be tracking. Both Philip and I, when the FEMA bills come in, so throughout the budget year, I've got Jessica tracking the actuals versus the budget amounts, but then we can be setting aside those differences. And then,
And then the loan investment pool had asked for something to,
so I notated your original motion, and I kinda calculated it up, and I just think if you just amend it, that we look at it yearly, so when it's been a year anniversary, as long as it doesn't fall below 2.6% yearly. See, you know, those interest rates are posted daily,
correct,
so they could fluctuate, so that's what I was saying, and then to include your
unrealized.
unrealized yield. So I've got that, if you want me to just put that in the minutes, are you okay with that recommended amended motion?
Yeah. Just so we can make sure everything's even across the board. I mean, everything.
Right, so if the daily rate goes down a little bit,
Correct.
there's not huge red flags, because according to your old motion, we would re-examine and re-solicit. So if we could
Yeah.
just do that on a yearly basis.
Yep.
We'll still track it monthly like we do, but
Yeah.
And one terminology, just to clarify, it says cumulative interest earned. If you look at our statements, we get interest earned or income, and then we have an unrealized increase, an increase in the value of the stock itself. Those combined and being compared to 2.6. So really that, where it says interest, that's total income, okay?
Jamie will break down, and then the next page is looking at this month, where you see kind of income earned, and then the unrealized, you will lump them together.
That'll work. All right.
I think that was it.
Is there anything else, Philip, before we go in close about personnel?
Nothing else.
All right. Can you get a motion to go into closed session regarding salary and personnel? All right.
Oh, you got somebody.
Yeah. She.
I never know what we're supposed to